Alright boys, so we're going to do a little bit more practice on this work. So on this first one, it says find the bearing of each compass bearing. Okay, so what they've given you here is southwest. So if we draw up north, south, east and west, southwest is halfway between south and west. So we draw that line in. Now we have to find the bearing, which means we go from north clockwise till we hit that line. Now, we have to give that answer. So, from north to south is 180 degrees. Continue the same direction, 45 more degrees, means you're going to add it on. So, it's 180 plus 45 equals 225 degrees for your bearing. On the next one, they've given you north, northwest. So, we need to mark in these two directions first, north, and then northwest. So here's north, south, east and west. Northwest is halfway between north and west. And north-northwest is halfway between north and northwest. So we're in here with our angle, with our direction. Now we go from north clockwise till we hit that red line. And we have to give that answer. Now there's a couple of ways you can do these questions. But the easiest way for this one would be to go the whole 360 around, back around to north, and then backwards subtract that little angle of 22.5 degrees. So once you do that, you're going to get 337.5 degrees. But remember, a bearing is a 3-digit angle. They don't have any minutes or anything in them. So we're going to round off to the nearest whole number. And because that's a 5, we're going up by 1 to 338 degrees. Sometimes the books will leave it as 337.5 degrees, so it just depends, but write them both down and you can't be marked wrong. Remember, there is another way that you could have done it, but this looks a lot more complicated because it is. So we could have just continued to add. So we could have said, well, from here all the way around to the west is 270, because it's 3 right angles. Then add on 45, and then add on the 22.5 to get to where we are. So you could add all of those up and still end up with our same answer. All right, now in number 4, it says sketch each bearing on a compass rose. Now I didn't tell you before, but when we draw up north, south, east and west, that is a compass rose. That's what it's called. So we're going to sketch the bearings on. This first one is 220 degrees. So we're going to start from north and go clockwise through 220 degrees. So that would be 90. That would be 180. If we go all the way around to there to be 270, that's too far. So we're in this quadrant here somewhere. Draw your line. So that's my angle in there of 220 degrees. With these questions, you're not going to be measuring them. You just have to make sure you're in the right quadrant, okay, the right quarter of the diagram. And make sure you're marking your angle to show that we know what you're doing. All right, the next one is 350 degrees. So we start from north and go clockwise through 350 degrees. 90, 180, 270. So we're going into this quadrant here. Draw your line, and that angle is 350 degrees. So we almost went around 360 for the whole revolution. So there's a little bit that we didn't go into. Okay, next question. We're sketching P on a compass rose. You know what that is now, north, south, east and west. If P has a bearing of 132 degrees from T. Now when you're drawing a diagram like this one, you do have to have the bearing, but you've got to have the letters as well. So because it's from T, we know that anything after the word from is in the middle of the compass. So that means T has to be here in the middle. Okay, now we're going to mark our bearing of 132 degrees. Start from north, go clockwise, that's 90. We can't go around to there because that'll be too far, to 180. So we're in here somewhere. Draw your line. That angle that we just drew is 132 degrees. And the other letter goes on the other end. So that would be P. Okay, number 6. If the bearing of P from A is 60 degrees, so we need to draw this first. There's our compass rose. Now Now it's from A, so A is in the middle, right, from A, so A is in the middle of your compass. Now we're going 60 degrees. Start from north, go clockwise 60 degrees, and we'll stay in this quadrant because we're not going around to 90. This will be 60 degrees in this spot here. And we're going to put our other letter of P on the other end of that line. Now, the question says, what is the bearing of A from P? So what you've got to do now is get another colour. This says from P, so they're telling you that P has to be in the middle of the compass. And P is not in the middle of the compass. So we're going to draw a compass so that P is in the middle of it. So we're going to draw another compass, making sure that P is in the middle of that compass there that I've drawn. So use a different colour, north, south, east and west. And now the question they've asked is, what is the bearing of A from P? So I'm going to use this compass because it's from P and P has to be in the middle. So I'm going to use this compass, go from north clockwise till we hit that line, and that's the angle we want to give them, whatever that turns out to be. So the blue angle we're looking for. All right, so to get this bearing, if you look at this 60 degrees here, that's going to be the same as this bit. So that angle in there that I've coloured in is the same as this angle here that I've coloured in. Because if you think about it, we've just drawn two compasses. There's a north-south line here and a north-south line over there. The north-south lines are parallel. Okay, I'll just mark that on with the black pen. North-south lines are parallel. Now, if they're parallel lines, and you look at this sideways, you should be able to see the alternate angles. So look at it sideways, and you should be able to see that Z shape, which means these two angles that I've marked are alternate angles. Okay, so if they're alternate angles, that means that this little shaded one in here will be 60 degrees. Got to be equal to the other one. So now we're going to do our working. From north to south is 180. Add on the 60 you just found. And the answer to your question is 240 degrees. It is a 3-digit angle. And that's it. Okay, looking at number 7. Now it says, what is the smallest angle between northeast and south-southwest? So, northeast is halfway between north and east. So we need to put our southwest in so we can see where this is. Southwest is halfway between south and west. And south-southwest is halfway between south and southwest. So it's in here. So we're trying to find the angle between northeast and south-southwest. So it's that red angle we're looking for. So let's see all the bits we do know. Well, we know that this is 45 degrees in here, from there to there. And we know from here to here is 22.5 degrees. Got that in the wrong spot, haven't I? That bit there is 22.5 degrees. I'll just get rid of that bit there because we don't need that. Yeah, that bit there is 22.5 degrees. And this bit from here to here is a right angle. So all we're doing now is adding 45 plus a right angle plus 22.5. So we're just going to add all of those up. And let's see what we'll get. That's 135, 155, 157.5 degrees. And they've just asked for an angle there, so they haven't said anything about a bearing, so we don't have to round that off to any nearest degree. So I'm going to leave it like that. Okay, so coming over to these other questions. Now, we are looking at drawing a diagram for a word problem. We're going to do a lot more practice on this in the next lesson. This will just get you started a little bit. Okay, so we're drawing up our compass. Now, often with these things, you don't know which way you're going, so you sometimes will muck it up and put a line through it and have to draw it again because your diagram's too small or you didn't leave enough room in one section. So don't worry if that happens because we have to redraw diagrams quite a lot with this work. So we have a plane flies on a bearing of 280 degrees for 150 kilometres. That's all we're concentrating on first. Now, if you can think about this, whenever you decide that you're going to go somewhere, the first thing you do is turn yourself in the direction you want to go, and then you go. Okay? So that's what we've got to do here. We have to turn this plane in the direction we want to go. So we're going to go 280 degrees for our bearing. So start from north, going clockwise, that's 270. A bit further will be 280. So we know that angle in there is 280 all the way around. And that's the start. Always start your trips or journeys in the middle. So he starts in the middle, the plane goes, I'm going to go around to a bearing of 280, and now I'm going to fly. So now it flies for 150 kilometres. Now you can mark your distance on 150 kilometres. Now this is where the plane is now. So it's travelled from here to here. It's now here. So you now need to draw another little compass up around that point. Because that's where the plane is, and it's now going to go on its second leg of its journey. So it says, and then another 250 kilometres on a bearing of 80 degrees. So now you've got to turn this plane onto the bearing of 80 degrees. So we go from north clockwise 80 degrees. And that angle there will be 80 degrees. And off it goes. Off it flies, and it's going to fly for 250 kilometres. Now the tricky thing with these diagrams, sorry, I'll just write this down a bit better. Tricky thing with these diagrams to know, well, I don't know how far it's gone. Has it gone and stopped there, or has it gone a bit further and gone into this corner over here? Because it does make a little bit of a difference. You will soon find out when you start working with these later whether you've done it right or not. But one little tip is if you look at that distance, we went 150 kilometres. This time we're going 250. So it has to look bigger than this line here. So I think we're going to be ending up over here somewhere. So let's draw it a little bit longer and then write 250 kilometres on. Now that's all they really want at this stage. We're just trying to get you started on these diagrams. Yes, it's a triangle, and you are going to be joining the finish of your trip to the start of your trip. So we might just join that, but we'll leave everything else to when we do the word problems in the next lesson. Okay, we're going to have another little look at this. This is still just trying to get you used to a few things for next lesson's work. They've given you this funny looking diagram here, which has sort of got parts of compass roses on it, angles, you're not really sure what it's doing, but we'll work with it. It says up the top here, find the bearing of Y from Z. From Z. Z is in the middle. So we're going to come over here and make sure that we put Z in the middle of the compass. Well, there's Z. It is in the middle of a part of a compass. Let's draw the rest of it. South, east and west. Okay. So we want the bearing of Y. So we're going to go from north clockwise till we hit the line that's going over here to Y. That's what they want, that bearing there. So as you can see, we're going from north to south, 180 degrees, and then add on the 50, continuing in the same direction. So it's 180 plus 50, 230 degrees. And that's a 3-digit angle, so it's fine. All right, the next one. We're going from X. X is in the middle of the compass. So I'm going to change colours. This time I'm going to use blue. I'm going to make sure X is in the middle of my compass. North, south, east. They've tried to write that on already, and west. Okay, now we're doing Y. So we're going to start with this compass, north, clockwise till we hit the line that goes to Y. That's the angle we want. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we've got from here to here is 90, then another 70, continuing in the same direction. So we're going to add those two together. And your answer is 160 degrees for that bearing. It's given us 3 digits, so it's fine. Okay, next one. We're looking at running out of colours here. I'll go back to red. Alright, this one has Y in the middle of the compass. So let's go down here to Y. That's got to be in the middle of the compass. Let's draw the rest of it that they've left out. And Y's in the middle now. So we're going to go to Z this time. So start from north. Where's Z? There it is, all the way over there. So we're going to go from north, clockwise till we hit the line that goes to Z, but only go to there. That's the angle you want. Okay, so this one's a little bit trickier than the others. You just got to think about it. But I hope you can see that these two angles are alternate angles. North-south are parallel lines. Look at it sideways, so your parallel lines are going across the page. And you should be able to see the Z shape there. So that angle there is 50 degrees. However, it's not a 3-digit angle, so we need to put a 0 in front of that to make it a 3-digit angle for our bearing. Okay, so practice the homework. It's just getting you used to bearings. Next lesson is when we do the problems, and if we have our diagrams right, it's going to make it a lot easier.